Listen to me very carefully, because what I'm about to reveal will explain why you're still struggling financially despite doing everything right. You work hard, you set goals, you take action, yet somehow the breakthrough never comes. The promotions go to others, the opportunities slip away, the money arrives and then mysteriously vanishes. You've blamed bad luck, bad timing, or bad breaks, but the real culprit is something you can't see, something operating beneath your conscious awareness, something that's been sabotaging you from the very beginning. It's not your strategy that's broken, it's not your work ethic that's lacking, it's your energetic signature, the invisible broadcast signal you're transmitting into the world every single moment of every single day. And until you understand how to identify and eliminate the frequency patterns that repel wealth, you will remain trapped in the same cycle no matter how hard you hustle. Stay with me, because in the next 30 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what's blocking your financial breakthrough and the precise method to reprogram your energetic field so that money stops running from you and starts running toward you. Let me start by exposing the lie you've been fed your entire life. You've been told that wealth is a math problem. Work more hours, learn more skills, save more money, and eventually the equation balances out. But if that were true, the hardest workers would be the wealthiest people on earth, and we both know that's not reality. There are people who work themselves to exhaustion and die broke, while others seem to accumulate wealth with ease, as if money follows them wherever they go. This contradiction should shake you awake. It should force you to question everything you thought you knew about prosperity. The truth is that wealth operates on a completely different system than you were taught. It's not primarily about effort or intelligence or even opportunity. It's about resonance. It's about the vibrational frequency you carry in your nervous system, in your thoughts, in your emotional patterns, and in the silent field of energy that surrounds you. This field, this invisible force, is what I'm calling your energetic signature, and it is the single most important factor determining your financial reality. Think of yourself constantly broadcasting a signal. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, every belief you hold in your subconscious mind becomes part of that broadcast. And just like a radio station attracts listeners who tune in to its frequency, you attract circumstances, people, and financial outcomes that match your dominant signal. If your signal is rooted in fear, in scarcity, in unworthiness, then no matter what you do on the surface, your results will reflect that underlying frequency. You might speak positive words, but if your nervous system is vibrating panic, the universe reads the real message. You might set ambitious goals, but if your subconscious believes you don't deserve to win, you'll unconsciously sabotage yourself at every critical moment. This is why people who come from poverty often struggle even after making money. This is why lottery winners frequently go broke within years. This is why talented people remain stuck while less talented people soar. The difference is not in their circumstances. The difference is in their signal. Now, here's where it gets critical. Your signal is not random and it's not fixed. It was built over time, through repetition, through conditioning, through the emotional patterns you inherited and the beliefs you absorbed. Maybe you grew up hearing that money doesn't grow on trees, that rich people are greedy, that you have to struggle to survive. Maybe you watched your parents fight about bills, sacrifice their dreams, and settle for less. Maybe you internalized the message that wanting wealth makes you selfish, or that success means abandoning your roots. All of these messages, whether spoken or unspoken, became part of your programming. They shaped your emotional default, your automatic responses, your subconscious expectations. And now, even though you consciously want wealth, your deeper programming is working against you. It's creating static in your signal. It's broadcasting a frequency that says, I'm not ready, I don't deserve it, I can't handle it, I'm afraid of what success will cost me. And that static is precisely what's keeping wealth at a distance. But here's the breakthrough, and this is what most people never discover. Your signal can be reprogrammed. Your energetic signature can be trained, refined, and elevated. Just like you can train your body to be stronger or your mind to be sharper, you can train your frequency to become magnetic to wealth. This is not wishful thinking. This is not positive affirmation slapped on top of deep-rooted fear. This is systematic reconditioning of your nervous system, your emotional patterns, and your subconscious beliefs, so that your entire being vibrates in alignment with prosperity. When you do this work, when you genuinely shift your signal, everything changes. Opportunities that were invisible suddenly appear. People who ignored you suddenly take interest. Doors that were locked suddenly open, not because the external world changed, but because you changed the frequency you're emitting, and the world is simply responding to your new signal. Let me give you a framework for understanding how this works. Every person operates on one of three energetic levels when it comes to money. The first level is desperation. This is where most people live. They're chasing, begging, convincing, proving. Their signal says, I need this, I'm incomplete without it, please give me a chance. This frequency repels wealth because it reeks of scarcity. It tells the world that you don't believe in your own value, so why should anyone else? The second level is transaction. This is where many professionals operate. They trade time for money, skill for payment, value for compensation. It's a fair exchange, but it's limited because it's still rooted in the idea that you only receive when you give something first. There's no magnetism here, only mechanics. But the third level, this is where transformation happens. This is the level of embodiment. At this level, you're not chasing wealth, and you're not even earning it in the traditional sense. You're attracting it, because your entire being has become aligned with prosperity. Your presence communicates value. Your energy signals certainty. Your frequency declares, I am already whole, and more is welcome. At this level, money flows to you not because you're working harder, but because you've become the type of person that money wants to be around. So how do you make this shift? How do you move from desperation or transaction into embodiment? It starts with radical honesty. You have to stop lying to yourself about your true signal. You have to get real about what you're actually broadcasting beneath the surface of your conscious intentions. This requires what I call an energetic audit. Every single day, you need to check in with yourself and ask these questions. What am I feeling right now? What is my emotional baseline today? When I think about money, what sensation arises in my body? Is it excitement or anxiety? Is it confidence or fear? Is it openness or contraction? Your body never lies. It's always broadcasting your truth. So if you say you believe in abundance, but your stomach tightens every time you check your bank account, that tightness is your real signal. If you say you're ready for success, but you feel guilty when you win, or anxious when someone offers you a compliment, that guilt and anxiety are your broadcast. You cannot override these signals with willpower alone. You have to acknowledge them, understand where they came from, and then systematically replace them with new patterns. This is where most people fail. They try to layer positivity on top of negativity. They repeat affirmations they don't believe. They visualize success while their nervous system remains wired for survival. And then they wonder why nothing changes. Let me be clear. Affirmations are not magic spells. Visualization is not wishful thinking. These tools only work when they're used to recondition your subconscious, not to deceive it. You can't fake your way into a new frequency. You have to earn it through repetition, through emotional consistency, through the discipline of aligning your inner world with the reality you want to create. This means you need to practice the feeling of wealth before you have evidence of it. You need to train your body to feel safe with abundance, to feel deserving of success, to feel natural in the space of overflow. And you do this not by pretending, but by deliberately creating those emotional states in small, manageable doses until they become your new baseline. Here's a practical method that will change everything if you commit to it. Every morning, before the noise of the world intrudes, before you pick up your phone or start your to-do list, you sit in silence for just 5 minutes. You close your eyes, you take 3 deep breaths, and you imagine a glowing field of energy surrounding your body. This is your energetic signature, your broadcast signal. Now you speak directly to it. You say, I am a magnet for abundance. My presence is wealth. Money is safe with me. Success flows to me. I am aligned with expansion. But here's the key. You don't just say these words, you feel them. You let them move through your body. You notice where resistance arises, and you breathe into it. You practice holding the emotion of already being wealthy, already being free, already being powerful. You do this for 5 minutes every single morning for 30 days, and I promise you, your signal will begin to shift. Your baseline will rise, your automatic responses will change, and the world will start responding to you differently because you're no longer the same person energetically. But reprogramming your signal is only half the equation. The other half is removing the interference, the noise that's distorting your broadcast. And that interference comes from 3 primary sources. First, your environment. You cannot maintain a high-frequency signal while surrounded by low-frequency inputs. If you're spending your days with people who complain, who gossip, who play victim, who celebrate mediocrity, their energy will drag yours down. It's not a moral judgment, it's physics. Energy seeks equilibrium. So if you're trying to vibrate at a higher level, but you're constantly immersed in lower vibrations, you'll either pull them up, which is exhausting, or they'll pull you down, which is inevitable. This means you have to become ruthless about who you spend time with, what you consume, and where you place your attention. Turn off the news that feeds you fear. Unfollow the social media accounts that make you feel inadequate. Distance yourself from people who need you to stay small so they feel comfortable. This isn't cruelty, it's self-preservation. You're not abandoning anyone, you're protecting your signal so you can become strong enough to lift others later. The second source of interference is your unresolved emotional baggage. Every unprocessed wound, every unhealed trauma, every suppressed emotion is creating static in your signal. Maybe you're carrying shame from a past failure. Maybe you're holding resentment towards someone who betrayed you. Maybe you're dragging guilt about a decision you regret. All of that emotional weight is distorting your frequency and blocking your ability to attract what you want. So you have to do the inner work. You have to face what you've been avoiding. You have to grieve what needs to be grieved, forgive what needs to be forgiven, and release what needs to be released. This doesn't mean you have to spend years in therapy, although therapy can be valuable. It means you have to stop running from your pain and start processing it. Write about it, talk about it, move your body to release it, whatever it takes, because until you clear that emotional debris, your signal will always be compromised. The third source of interference is your lack of clarity about what you actually want and why you want it. Most people say they want wealth, but they haven't defined what that means or connected it to a purpose larger than themselves. They want money for the sake of having money, which is empty and uninspiring. Your signal becomes magnetic when it's attached to meaning. When your desire for wealth is rooted in what you want to create, contribute, or experience. So ask yourself, why do I want financial abundance? Is it to provide security for my family? Is it to fund a mission that matters to me? Is it to have the freedom to live on my own terms? Get specific, get emotional, make it real. Because when your desire is connected to purpose, your signal becomes coherent. It stops being scattered and starts being focused, and focused energy is what moves mountains. Now let's talk about the concept of energetic congruence, because this is where the magic happens. Congruence means that your thoughts, your words, and your actions are all aligned. You're not thinking one thing, saying another, and doing something completely different. You're integrated. You're whole. And when you achieve that level of internal alignment, your signal becomes incredibly powerful. People feel it when they're around you. They might not be able to explain it, but they'll say things like, "There's something about you. I trust you. I want to work with you." That's not charisma in the traditional sense. That's energetic congruence. You're not performing confidence. You're embodying it. You're not pretending to know your worth. You're living from it. And that authenticity is what creates magnetism. But achieving congruence requires brutal self-honesty. You have to look at the gaps between what you say you believe and how you actually behave. Do you say you value abundance but refuse to invest in yourself? Do you claim you're ready for success but avoid taking risks? Do you declare you're confident but constantly seek validation from others? These contradictions create dissonance in your signal, and dissonance confuses the universe. It doesn't know which message to respond to, so it responds to neither. You end up stuck in limbo, wanting change but unconsciously blocking it. So your job is to close those gaps. Start small. If you say you believe in your value, start charging what you're worth. If you say you're ready for expansion, start acting like someone who's already expanded. If you say you deserve success, stop apologizing for your ambitions. Every action you take to align your behavior with your beliefs strengthens your signal and accelerates your results. Let me introduce you to a principle that very few people understand, but that governs all wealth creation. It's called the law of energetic preparation. This law states that you don't attract what you want, you attract what you're prepared to receive. Think about that. Wanting is passive. Wanting is wishing. Wanting creates no change. But preparation is active. Preparation is becoming. Preparation transforms you into the type of person who can hold, manage, and multiply wealth when it arrives. This is why so many people who achieve sudden success lose it just as quickly. They weren't prepared. Their energetic signal hadn't caught up to their circumstances. Their nervous system couldn't handle the expansion. Their identity was still rooted in scarcity. So the money had to leave because energy always seeks alignment. If your inner world doesn't match your outer world, one of them will shift to match the other. And typically, the outer world will collapse back down to match the inner one, unless you've done the work to elevate your signal first. So how do you prepare energetically for the wealth you desire? You start living as if it's already happening. Not in a delusional way where you spend money you don't have, but in an emotional and behavioral way where you embody the identity of your future self. You ask yourself, how would I think if I were already wealthy? How would I speak? How would I carry myself? What would I no longer tolerate? What standards would I hold? What boundaries would I set? And then you start implementing those changes now. You walk with your head high. You speak with conviction. You make decisions from abundance rather than scarcity. You invest in quality over convenience. You prioritize your growth over your comfort. You act like someone who already knows their worth. And slowly but surely, your external reality begins to match your internal state. This is not manifesting in the mystical sense. This is identity work. You're becoming the person who already has what you want, and when you do that consistently, the universe has no choice but to rearrange itself to match your new frequency. There's another critical element to this transformation that nobody talks about, and it's the role of emotional stillness in wealth attraction. Most people are living in a constant state of emotional chaos. They're anxious about the future, resentful about the past, overwhelmed by the present. Their energy is scattered, reactive, unstable. And that instability broadcasts a signal of confusion. When your signal is confused, the opportunities that come your way are also confused. They're half-formed, unreliable, draining. But when you cultivate emotional stillness, when you learn to remain centered regardless of external circumstances, your signal becomes clear and powerful. Stillness doesn't mean you don't feel emotions. It means you're not controlled by them. It means you can feel fear and still move forward. You can feel doubt and still take action. You can feel uncertainty and still lead with confidence. This kind of emotional mastery is rare, and that's precisely why it's so valuable. When you master your inner world, the outer world bends to your will, not because you're forcing it, but because your signal has become so coherent that resistance dissolves naturally. Let me give you a practice that builds this stillness. It's called the pause ritual. Throughout your day, whenever you notice yourself becoming reactive, anxious, or overwhelmed, you pause. You literally stop whatever you're doing. You place your hand on your heart and you take 3 slow, deep breaths. With each exhale, you release the tension. With each inhale, you reclaim your center. Then you ask yourself one question. What would the wealthiest version of me do right now? Not the busiest version, not the most stressed version, but the wealthiest version. The one who's already achieved what I'm working toward. How would they respond to this situation? What energy would they bring? And then you embody that response. This simple practice, repeated consistently, will transform your emotional baseline. It will train your nervous system to default to calm instead of chaos, and calm is one of the most magnetic frequencies you can emit. Now, I need to address something that's holding many of you back, and it's the belief that success requires suffering. You've been conditioned to think that if it's not hard, it's not valuable. That struggle is proof of effort, that exhaustion is a badge of honor. But this belief is poisoning your signal. It's creating a frequency that says, I have to earn my worth through pain. And as long as you believe that, you'll unconsciously create pain in your journey, even when it's unnecessary. The truth is that wealth flows to those who make it easy, not hard. I'm not saying success requires no effort. I'm saying it doesn't require suffering. There's a massive difference between focused action and frantic hustle, between strategic effort and self-punishment. When your signal is aligned, when you're moving from purpose instead of panic, the path becomes smoother. Doors open faster, resources appear more readily, help shows up unexpectedly. This isn't because the universe is rewarding you for being positive. It's because your clear signal is attracting clear opportunities. So release the addiction to struggle. Stop glorifying exhaustion. Start honoring rest, spaciousness, and ease. Train your signal to broadcast, "I am successful and it feels good," rather than "I am successful because it was hard." Let's go deeper into the concept of contribution, because this is where your signal reaches its highest power. You cannot sustain wealth if your only focus is accumulation. Wealth that's hoarded eventually stagnates, but wealth that's used to create value, solve problems, and serve others, that wealth multiplies. This is the principle of energetic reciprocity. The more you give from a place of genuine abundance, not from obligation or guilt, the more you receive. But here's the nuance. You can't give in order to get. That's manipulation, and the universe sees right through it. True contribution comes from overflow. It comes from a place where you already feel full, and sharing is simply an expression of that fullness. When your signal carries that frequency, when you move through the world as someone who's here to add value rather than extract it, people feel it. They want to support you. They want to collaborate with you. They want to invest in you. Not because you're asking, but because your presence itself is a gift.